time to feel the rage. Welcome to Film Rage, where we talk movies. We're hoping that the movie theaters will be able to open soon, but until they do, the streaming continues. Directors and actors beware, as you cannot hide from the rage. My name is Bryce, and I'm part of the Film Rage crew, which also includes Jim. Hello, Jim.
Hey, hey.
So, with the introductions out of the way, let's rage on!
Well, this week on the podcast, we are going to be talking about some streaming.
Yeah.
And we're going to do an off-the-cuff event, which is exciting. We're going to talk about the special 18th annual Human Rights Film Festival. And we were lucky enough to be invited to preview a couple of movies. Then we're doing Open Rage, The Lists, Rage or Dare, and then Bingo, Bango Bongo. Back to life.
Fantastic.
That's all we got. But you know what? You know what we do got? We've got a promo. We got a promo for our buddies, Happy Horror Time podcast. Check these dudes out.
Hey, Tim, do you like horror movies?
Why, yes, I do, Matt.
You want to hear two ridiculous horror fanatics discuss all the scary movies that just came out?
Wait, you must be talking about our podcast, Happy Horror Time.
You bet your ass I am.
Oh, clean it up, Matt.
No, see, that's the best part. On Happy Horror Time, you get uncensored and unpolished reviews of all things horror. We find all the latest releases, we watch them, and then discuss them in our real talk kind of style.
AKA, we're crazy.
That too.
And don't forget, we also interview classic horror stars and insiders, asking them all the questions you've always wanted to know, but were afraid to ask.
Like when Felissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp told us how they found her stand-in for that big reveal at the end.
Yep, you got to listen to find out.
Check out Happy Horror Time, a podcast for horror lovers.
Or anyone who just wants to have a good time.
Because anyone can have a happy horror time.
I love Happy Horror Time. It's like the best kind of time. Other than
kind of time.
Other than perhaps dancing. We're doing what?
We're streaming, Jim. So, we are going to start with a movie by the name of Little Big Women. It is currently playing on Netflix.
Huh.
Yeah. So, this is
a movie on Netflix.
Movie. Yeah. Shui Ying is turning 70, and on that day, she learns that her estranged husband has passed. This is a launching point for the Little Big Women. From there, just getting into the music here.
You can't not get into this music.
Yeah. From there, Sho Ying's family deals with the passing in different ways. It also brings some mother-daughter dynamics to the surface. A lot is going on here, and I felt that each storyline got the appropriate amount of attention. Every issue that was introduced got a fairly satisfying amount of screen time. This is a very even movie with no real peaks or valleys. The acting is solid throughout. There is a beauty to every shot. The karaoke taxi scenes that sort of bookended the movie were strangely effective. This was an even, competent, never boring, but also never spectacular meh.
What? 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 So I found, just wait to hear this. Very reserved acting style from the lead actress. Pacing was slow and methodical. I almost felt the dialogues were done at half speed, almost too contrived. I can't fully explain this feeling I have of the contrivity, if that's a word, but it felt a little bit like, I want to say a soap opera. Thought the idea of her ex-husband dying on her birthday was an interesting plot line, at which point watching this film, I'm thinking to myself, oh, Bryce is probably loving this, how slow and boring it is. Everything at half speed and nothing really happening in this movie so far. Almost, like I was saying, a bit like a soap opera. Interesting. I love the family always coming together through food. That I thought was a really cool concept because it's so true to life, right? I mean, how much some of the biggest moments in our lives are with our families around food. I thought Shu Fang Chen did a great job as the grandma. I enjoyed it as a film school experiment, is what I'm going to say, in pacing as a film. And I fell into the groove of the slow, methodical direction style. I liked it as a film. I just didn't really love it. Some of the more emotional scenes at the end were very rewarding, and perhaps I should have enjoyed this film more, but found by the end some of their conveniences, quote unquote, of the plot and the soap opera-like feel of the film I could not get over. And interestingly enough, I also thought the karaoke cab ride was awesome. And for that reason alone, I want to go to Taiwan now because I've never seen Karaoke Taxi, but I want to perform it and hopefully be extremely Taiwanese drunk at the time on whatever Taiwanese alcohol is available as I get into my cab. Gets a Days of Our Lives Taiwanese style meh.
Yep.
My favorite line: when your mom gave birth to you, did she not give you guts?
Important to have. I hope she did give him guts.
I don't think she did. It didn't happen. The guts weren't there.
Yeah, the guts weren't there.
I was wanting to love this so much more.
Yeah, I was pretty stoked to see it, and I kind of heard about it, and that's why when it popped up on Netflix, I was like, well, we got to review this because I had kind of seen and it kind of did the festival circuit, and it got a lot of good reviews. I never actually read any of the reviews. I just kind of saw the headlines, and it's just like, yeah, this is great. And
then it was just okay.
It was just okay, and I was kind of disappointed. I was hoping to, I had my box of Kleenex ready. I was hoping to start bawling my eyes out. I thought, I'll probably have to blow my nose at least 10 or 12 times, but I barely got teary-eyed at all. Very disappointing.
Yeah, and it wasn't like you could use the Kleenex for other things because the movie really didn't fit along that lines either. So it was kind of like, if I'm not using the Kleenex for my crying, I should be using it for something else, but it just wasn't going to work.
I don't know what you're talking about. So
the drool from the karaoke.
The drool, yeah.
Cab driving.
It's from singing along to the karaoke.
Exactly. Okay, well, let's talk about Malcolm and Marie.
Malcolm and Marie?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
A director and his girlfriend's relationship is tested.
Before you go on, where's that playing?
It's on Netflix. It's a double Netflix. It's a double banger Netflix night.
Hey, Netflix. I hear they're big.
Yeah, I've heard some stuff from them. They got stuff.
All right, give your summary now. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, whatever. I'm all excited about Netflix now. Or maybe not.
Netflix.
A director and his girlfriend's relationship is tested after they return home from his movie premiere and awake critics' response. Sizz. But it's really response, not sizz.
Sizz.
So it's directed and written by Sam Levinson and it stars John David Washington of Tenet fame, and Zendaya. And interesting, both of them were producers on this film. So I thought that was kind of cool.
All
right. So I love how Marie says right from the beginning, let's talk tomorrow, as nothing good is going to come from this conversation. Wonder what would have happened if they would have just listened to her. I think
a wise woman.
Zendaya and John David Washington, or JDW, as I like to now call him, do a great job working off of each other, and the dialogue seemed so natural at parts of this film. Had a classic kind of Woody Allen feel, like Manhattan or Annie Hall through the first part of the film. The continuous fight did start to tire after a while, and I felt that the level of passion the fights got into at times, the characters were just a little too respectful for the level of anger that I think should have been shown in the film. And before you say it, I did not need to see this movie in black and white. I could not tell
that was the only thing that saved it.
If the mac and cheese was white or yellow. I'm totally at a loss whether or not he's a white cheddar fan or classic orange KD dude. And this was something important to me as I was watching it, because it was a big part of the movie, him eating craft dinner.
Only
Although it was
a big part of the movie, there's no question.
Yeah, exactly.
That scene kind of overpowered the rest of the movie, really.
And I think if the white cheddar was there, it might have brought more cultural awareness, because there was layers of black white controversy through the movie. So maybe if we saw him eating actually orange colored craft dinner, it might have made a difference. I don't know. I mean, that was part of his criticism. Overall, I felt the actors did an outstanding job of this. It is a very personal film. It got to so many levels of emotion, but somehow I did not feel the flow was so natural. The amount of passion these actors portray, and yet it still felt over-controlled. Also, not a fan of directors who use smoking to try and develop a mood or atmosphere. This is one of my pet peeves. I hate the fact that directors have to even put smoking into a movie, because I don't think it's something we should be portraying for anybody that should be watching this. So we should be glorifying cigarettes. I think it is a cop-out, and it happened too many times to try and change direction. And to me, it didn't add any layer at all to the film. I do love the big rage that JDW does. That felt the most natural of all the arguments and events that happened. The most important question I still have is, how many actual bowls of craft dinner do we think he had to eat in the making of this film? I'm really not sure.
I don't know, but he was enjoying it, so
he ate it. He ate it pretty fast. Imagine if he had to have 7. There's like 7 takes.
The way he was enjoying it, if he was into his 7th bowl of craft dinner, or not craft,
he
dinner,
deserves an Oscar for
macaroni
this.
If he was into his 7th bowl, he wouldn't have been able to be that good an actor to really continue to enjoy.
I don't
7
know,
bowls
maybe.
in, he'd be like.
It was an intimate look inside of one night for two lovers on the most important night of JDW's life. I love the actors. I love the concept. I'm not sure I love the film. So, meh.
Meh?
Yep, it's a meh. It's a hard meh. It's a cheese-soaked meh.
It's a rock hard meh.
It's a box of Kleenex meh is what that is.
Oh my goodness.
What did you think, little buddy?
What did Bryce think? Well, sir, Malcolm and Marie explores one question and one question only. How many times can we say the exact same thing in about 1 hour and 45 minutes? I lost count. The movie is a repeat of essentially the same scene over and over again. Sometimes in different rooms and sometimes in the same room. We go over the same ground over and over again, to the point that these characters that were not very likable to begin with become somewhat irritating. The performances by both Zendaya and John David Washington were both as good as they could be, considering the material that they were given to work with. This was a beautiful film to look at, and I believe if I was able to watch it with no sound, I probably would have enjoyed it more. Although I will admit, the soundtrack was pretty enjoyable. And what was with the strange focus on the mac and cheese and the scene where Malcolm devours a bowl as if it were the first meal he has had in a week. Watching him stab at the pasta like a madman, stuffing his face while screaming at Marie, was something to behold. It was not enjoyable, but it was something to behold. For being such a complete waste of talent, this movie is a rage.
Oh, snap. Interesting.
I hated this movie.
It was hard to like. I'll give it that.
Yes.
So to your point, I'm giving it points because I'm thinking it's definitely more on the lower mass side for me. It's getting a lot of points for me for style. I love the style of this film. But there was too many things, to your point, that wasn't likable about it. And the dialogue of which that was, like it's getting points for both actors. I thought they did great. I think the stylistically, am I mad that the only thing I really wanted to know is the color of that mac and cheese. Otherwise, I guess it could have stayed black and white. Yeah. If only there was just one color I shot, kind of like the red dress in Schindler's List.
The sound guy was working overtime on that mac and cheese scene, though, because we heard every stab and clink and clank as the fork. Like, who eats macaroni and cheese like that? He's like sitting there, it's just stabbing at it, and there's this just big ping every time the fork hits the bowl. It's like, what is he trying to break the bowl? It was crazy. It was
how many bowls did he break?
Feeding session. I didn't know what was going on. I bet you they did break 2 or 3 bowls filming that scene.
I want to know how many bowls he ate.
He's going crazy.
Yeah, there was a lot of rage going on.
I was so looking forward to this. You know that I absolutely love John David Washington. And
so do I.
Yep. Every time he's in a movie, I'm like, we got to see it. And this was super, super disappointing.
You know what's the most disappointing about this?
No.
He's got to start all over.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
When I made this a rage, I was like, crap, because he was on his way to being undoubted, and now he's at square one.
He's at square one, baby. I just want to go. I just want to kind of know, and we can maybe talk about this on the lists. In fact, let's talk about it a little bit on the list, where he would have been if this would have even been a Met, because the last one was a Mondo, right? So there's interesting. Well, that's probably enough to talk about that. I think I might have some craft dinner for supper tonight, and I'm gonna have orange, just so people know. I prefer the orange over the white cheddar.
That is spectacular. I'm sure everybody is quite pleased that you're going to have some orange macaroni and cheese.
Well, except for the people who are on team white cheddar. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm on team no cheddar. That's vegan.
True. Yeah, but you can have fake your favorite vegan queso sauce is orange. I'm just saying. Right? It's orange queso. It's not white queso.
So let's move on. So from there we go to Bliss from 2021. Now there's a bunch of movies named Bliss, but this one is the one from 2021. It's currently on Prime, and it's the one with Owen Wilson and Salma Hayek. So there's about 6 or 7 of them out there.
Yes.
This movie was part fantasy, part drama, part slapstick comedy. Bliss is a collision of genres that never quite hits its target dead on in any of the categories it touches upon. It is an ambitious film from director-writer Mike Cahill. Owen Wilson and Salma Hayek are well cast as Greg and Isabel. They do their best to make sense of this high-concept fiasco about a man who gets fired from his job, meets a street person who convinces him nothing is real, and then I just sort of lost track. I was completely invested in the first few minutes as we spend some time with Greg at work in the moments leading up to his termination from his employment. This whole sequence was tremendously entertaining, and my hopes were like through the roof in the first few minutes of this movie. But from there, we had a lot of dots to connect, but I'm not sure if they actually ever did connect. The trailer for this promised one of two things. This was either going to be a train wreck of a movie, or it had the potential to be fantastic. Neither of these possible promises came to fruition. It was not bad. It was not great. It had a lot of heart, even though much of it made little sense. The fact that I cared about Greg and Isabel made me view this mess of a movie with a generous eye. They made me forgive the confusion and the convoluted, incomplete concept to the point that I was kind of enjoying myself. this mess of a movie was meh.
Oh, well, Bill Nye, the science guy, which we don't get to say very often.
What the hell was he doing in it?
What we don't get to say that very often. Usually it's Bill Nye, the acting guy.
The acting guy, yeah.
Because that's usually who we pick.
Total distraction, by the way.
He was a big surprise, though. I didn't expect to see him in a movie.
Distraction. He didn't add anything. He just shows up, and it's like, what the hell are you like?
He played a science guy.
Yeah, he played a science guy badly.
Yeah, so
he is not an actor.
So the fact that he was in that movie,
they should have got Bill Nye, the acting guy.
That's my review. Bill Nye was in this movie, and it was a surprise.
There you go. Let's move on.
Well, I think there's a little bit of rage here I want to throw in. I like the whole Matrix feel of the film for the first 5 minutes.
Yep.
Almost a blatant ripoff at the beginning, actually. I like the way we were kept confused in everything that was happening, but the story did not seem to draw you in as much as I felt it should have. You have this feeling the whole time that Salma Hayek's character is leading him along, but at some point in the film, neither of the main characters have enough substance or likability to care where the story goes.
I disagree.
Yeah, no, I could care less about either of them. I was like, can one of them please die? I don't care which. The sci-fi of the film and the drama side of the film don't seem to flow together at all. By 27 minutes left, they finally remind you that maybe there's another reality. And then they bring back Owen Wilson's daughter, and you're kind of like, what? Like, what? I don't like what's happening here. And by the time she does come back, I'm just like, whatever, who cares? Like, I don't really care anything what's happening in this movie. Owen's character remembers his daughter, but then he stops thinking about her for no apparent reason. And can we please just talk about Salma Hayek's acting in this? She was awful. I don't know how you cared about her. She was awful.
I liked her.
There was times when they showed her when they were in that the hell was it called? Her tent city that she built for herself. And I'm like, who's acting here? This is so terrible. I'm like, you don't have, like, are you trying to show no emotion or any? It was, go back and watch just the scenes when she's in there. It's like so annoying.
I don't need to watch it again.
It's fine. Just watch that. She was terrible. It's a bunch of unfinished stuff and random occurrences. They try to tie up at the end, but then nothing really gets tied up. I love the whole not knowing what to expect in movies. This is a big theme that I love, but this was just mostly unsatisfying. It was good to see Owen back in the saddle, but this film was barely watchable. It gets a low mat, and I'm going to say, if you can convince me even a little, I could be completely convinced to make this a rage.
Yeah, I can't convince you to make it a rage because
come on, give me some more. Give me just a little bit.
To be honest, this gets to meh just because of the first, like the whole
5
first
minutes
scene in the office, all the way up to him being in the bar, all the way up to his boss falling out the window.
Yes.
And up until that point, this looked like it was going to be genius.
It was Mondo.
I'm in. Yep. I'm like, this is going to be fantastic. And then it kind of fell off a cliff. That was I'd have to be like, what, 9 or 10 minutes total.
Maybe if we're lucky.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what the fuck is at the end?
Then there were little flashes here and there where there were little scenes that I kind of enjoyed. But you're right, like nothing really ties together. It's very confusing.
And Salma Hayek's acting's terrible.
It's incomplete. Salma Hayek was fine.
I liked Bill Nye, the science guy, better.
He needed to not be in this movie. That almost made it a rage for me. It's like, why?
And he didn't even talk about climate change. He didn't even talk about climate change.
It was a weird cameo.
But what the fuck is the meeting that he's in at the end? What is the meeting he's at the end? Is it Alcoholics Anonymous? Is it Drug Anonymous? Is it Mental Illness Anonymous? Like what is that meeting at the end? It's like, doesn't even make sense. The final shot did not make it any better. Like, I'm just like, why?
I like the final shot.
No, it didn't make any sense, and it didn't add anything to the movie.
Fine.
No, it was poopy.
Yeah, whatever.
Salma Hayek's gross in this movie. I just have to keep saying that.
Just fine. I don't know what.
Fine.
I don't know what you're talking
Gross.
about.
Go watch her
You-
terribly
You
act
know
herself
not
out
of
a
what you
paper bag.
speak. She's just fine. All right, sir. Ooh, what's that?
It's cool music. It's actually our Cuff music.
What? We watched something from Cuff?
Yeah, we did. Cuff had an off the cuff event.
Awesome.
And for those who don't know, they can find our friends at Cuff at, what the hell is their website?
It's CalgaryUndergroundFilm.org.
There you go. Thank God you're organized for a change.
I tell you.
So we got to see PVT Chat. Jack is an internet gambler living in New York City who becomes fixated on Scarlett, a cam girl from San Francisco. His obsession reaches a boiling point when fantasy materializes in reality, and Jack sees Scarlett on a rainy Chinatown street. Whoa. Director writer Ben Hosey, maybe, or Hosey?
Hosey.
All right, perfect. And unlike IMDb, it stars Julia Fox and Peter Vack.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I love spending 2 hours watching a guy watching his computer for 2 hours as much as the next person.
Really?
I mean, let's face it. I found it very COVID adjacent friendly. The quick shots and edits made it feel very rushed and manic at times, very gritty and underground feeling. I love the fact that our lead basically eats, plays poker, and masturbates to cam girls through the entire movie. Kind of sounds like a lifestyle I could get used to. Well, actually, maybe not. I think it was actually quite a depressing lifestyle, but you know, insert now my time for rage at me not being able to spend my days doing that. Grr. I need to inform that I really actually like the lead actor playing Jack. And yet, again, as I mentioned, IMDb does an awful job, as he is listed as the 28th person in the cast list.
Whatever. Peter
Vack, IMDb, he is the star. So change your fucking programming and quit being so stupid. FYI, stars in a movie should be the first person that appears on your list. I'm just saying. Hashtag mic check. My favorite part of the movie is when he's talking to Scarlett, and you get the impression he's been talking to her for quite a while. And he says, Scarlett, do you mind if I introduce you to Will and Larry? And then all of a sudden they pan over and Will and Larry are right there, and they jump and say, hey, Scarlett. He says, hey, Scarlett. I completely lost my shit at that point. I was laughing my ass off. That was so fucking hilarious. I got to say, I started to get tired of the story with the whole cam girl chat. Normally I would spend no more than 4.5 minutes watching any cam girl scene, if you can catch what I'm saying. So I was happy to see the story just at the time where I was starting to go into a complete rage, that the film started to open up a little bit. So finally we get to the end, just skipping past all the middle part. We get to the end, and then it turns into a Penthouse forum letter portion of the movie. Apparently good things come to those who wait, perhaps. And it will only cost you $10,000. So it did check a lot of boxes, though. It had male masturbation and nudity. It had female masturbation and nudity. It had cam sex. It had deceit. It had ghosting. It had stalking. It had gland larceny. It had redemption. Oh, right. And of course, it had Penthouse forum rewards letters. And finally, it has a meh for a rating. Fits what you would expect for the plot, I guess, knowing that it's a movie about a guy who watches cam girls and plays poker. A couple of parts were pretty interesting. Glad I saw it, but it's still just a meh. Full on Master Nation is a bit of a surprise. And expect, I don't know. I couldn't love this movie. I wanted to. No. It was man.
So it's a man. Okay. Well, PVT Chat doesn't really have any direction. There is no explanation to the motivations of any of the characters. I watched Jack for the entire film, and I'm not sure I know him any better than in the first few minutes. The motivations of Scarlett are inconceivable, as towards the end she must realize that everything she had thought about Jack was not true, which leads to the question, why is she so keen to be with this loser? This was a strange movie with relationships that made no sense, as not one of the characters was developed enough to let me understand any of the decisions they were making. From Jack to Scarlett, from Larry to Duke, to Henry the landlord, none of these characters made sense. None of them rang true. None of them were believable. Had this movie developed the characters at all, had it made me understand the motivations of these characters, had it made me even care a little, it could have avoided what I'm about to say. PVT Chat was a rage.
Ooh, there you go.
Hated
so you're
this
saying,
movie.
Didn't you like the end part where there was like a lot of masturbating happening?
Nothing made sense. I'm sitting there like nothing made sense. What fantasy world does the person who write this? I can't even talk. It made no sense.
It was a Penthouse forum letter. I told you that already. It's basically he wrote the Penthouse forum letter and then he made a movie about it.
Okay, well, it was awful. It was good to see what's her head though, Julia Fox. She was in Uncut Gems. She was Adam Sandler's girlfriend in that.
Yeah, I thought
I kind of like her. I kind of want to see her in more stuff.
Well, I thought
but that is the only thing I took out of this. It's just I want to see more Julia Fox. You can have this lead actor, whatever the hell his name was. What was his name again?
His name happens to be
Peter Vac.
Jack in the movie, but his real name, is Peter.
Peter Vac. Yeah,
I like him. I've always liked him as an actor. He played the creepy poker playing poor lover for
Rage.
But it had cam sex and nudity and masturbation.
Rage.
Masturbation. You don't get to see that all the time.
Rage.
Did the last 7 minutes of the movie surprise you when they had the full-on Penthouse Farm finale?
Yeah, it was stupid. Just like the rest of the movie.
Well, I couldn't have seen it ending any other way. So it ended exactly like I expected it to be.
That's fantastic. I'm glad you didn't hate it, but I did.
Okay. Well, no more masturbation for you.
Didn't want to. I want to like it. Couldn't.
I wanted to love it, actually.
It was rage. All right.
If this don't sing human rights, I don't know what does.
No. All right. So 18th Annual Human Rights Festival. Sorry, Human Rights Film Festival. Will be going from February 18th to February 22nd. We'll probably put some sort of link so you can get right to it on our page there for wherever you are downloading this podcast from. But if
it's hard to read
this, it is F. You know what? I am just going to put the link on there so that you can.
So people will find it.
It is quite a convoluted address, so I will definitely put the link on our page.
And it's kind of hard to find, actually. Like it's not easy to just go search this out. It's a little bit tough to find.
So we are actually going to do one movie this week, and then we're going to review another one next week. Is I believe the plan.
Yes, it is.
So let's get on with this week. So this week we watched Maxima.
And it's nothing to do with Romans either.
No, nothing at all. So Maxima. Oh, I knew he was going to take a header, and he finally did. For those of you watching on YouTube,
Potato was so
Mr.
mad.
Potato just ended it all. All right. For those of you not watching on YouTube, well, I guess you missed out. Maxima Acuna is a fearless Peruvian farmer who is forced to protect her land from one of the largest gold producers in the world, U.S.-based Newmont Mining Corporation. This depicts her struggle for justice. It is a story of human rights violations and environmental crimes committed by corporations in the pursuit of profit. Check that. What this really is about is one of the toughest women that you'll ever meet who refuses to give up in the fight for what is right. This is another documentary that depicts the corporations of this world wielding the power of the dollar in order to get anything they want. In this particular case, it involves the violent intimidation of a Peruvian farmer. And it's not only Newmont that she has to fight, but also the police and government that should be protecting her, as well as the World Bank, which is also supposed to be looking out for her interests. The fact that she is able to stand up to the overwhelming opposition that was placed in front of her makes for a tremendous subject for a documentary, but more importantly, shines a light on the evils that go on in our civilized world. This is an important film that I hope our listeners will find a way to make time for. Overall, this is a very depressing film, but the fact that Maxima will not give up, that's not the music.
That is today.
Either. But the fact that Maxima will not give up makes it also inspiring. Maxima, the film, as well as Maxima, the person, Armando.
Well, I am going to swear a lot in my review.
Stumble through that. That was pathetic. But anyway, go on.
It's not the worst thing that's ever happened.
Tripping over my words today. I apologize to our listeners. I just cannot get it.
Mr. Potato did a swan dive off the desk and landed on his cute little head. So, the fact that you were stumbling a little bit, maybe your heart is out because you're missing your little horsey.
While you're talking, I'm going to just check on Mr. Potato, make sure he's okay.
All righty. Well, plus I'm going to do a shitload of swearing in this. So Maxima, first off, I'm fucking pissed. What the fuck, World Bank or U.S. corporations or evil companies in general? This doc seems to be, in my opinion, missing a few ingredients of all the facts, but it made its point, and I'm fucking pissed. Maxima is a sweet potato farming sheep herder, just trying to live her life, and big business is, as usual, telling people they have people's best interest in heart, but really, it's just big business fucking over people, and I'm definitely yes to water and no to gold. Obviously, we are not seeing the full story while watching this doc, but it's obvious. If they build a fence, why don't you stay on your side and let Maxima stay on hers? The land is vast and stretches for miles. So it is really just because they can. This is the whole reason why? They don't need her land. There's like thousands and thousands of miles of land that they could have gone and get. But they're making a point that, we're going to fuck over Maxima because we can. Did they really need her parcel of land? No. This film made me angry. I'm so tired of seeing the same story unfold all over the world. I fucking hate the World Bank. They are evil. And don't think that they're not. They are one of the most evil organizations on the planet. So everybody just please know that. I fucking hate money over people in general everywhere. I fucking hate that this happens more than it should and that we should have to still be talking about this in the world that we live in today. Newmont Corp is just made my top 10 most unethical companies with the likes of DuPont, Monsanto, and Nestle. And I'm not afraid to say their names, although maybe one day if I disappear, it's one of those three, or perhaps now Newmont Corp. I just want to say, fuck you all. This movie was a powerful David and Goliath doc. I think there were some missing pieces, but it did the job it was set out to do because I'm pissed off, full of rage. And for this reason alone, it gets a Mondo.
Yep.
I want to unpack a couple of things. First off, World Bank has a model, and they talk about this in the movie, of helping people or helping countries, and it's completely against what they're doing.
Yep.
And their ass bags.
Talk is cheap.
And okay, what's the thing with water supplies? Like, I don't understand. Like, I'm just so confused that you can have a country, or maybe it's a province within Chile, that if they're testing the water and it's becoming toxic for the people that are drinking it, like, why? Like, I don't get it. It's just the corruption of just being bought off to have all your people dying. It's like the whole thing of Flint again, right? It's kind of like, I'm sorry, like, these people are paying your taxes, and then this is how you reward them, by letting them all get sick on the water they're drinking. Like, it fundamentally makes me angry that water is so important to the world, and these docs need to be shown. To your point earlier, people need to see these docs to know that they don't have to be alone. And I have a lot of credit to the organization that supports her through this, because she doesn't have money. Like, she lives off of, she makes her own sweaters, man. It's like, I kind of wish, I haven't really looked into it yet, but I kind of want to find out if Maxima is making sweaters I can buy online, because her sweaters are freaking awesome.
They are.
Right? I mean, that wool must be pretty damn sweet.
Yeah, there's a website too, actually, for the sport Maxima, I believe, that I stumbled across. So we might.
Did you see one where we could buy her sweater? Did you see?
I didn't actually. I didn't have time to really get into what was actually on it. But
I mean, this is a woman that, I mean, she's trying to farm potatoes and other crops, and they keep coming and fucking up her crops. And then, you know, she's shearing her sheep with her husband. I think that's her husband. They didn't really talk much about him.
Yeah.
But
it was her husband.
Shearing her sheep and does everything by hand. And you think of what she's charging, like, well, I think it was $60 for one sweater. And I'm like, a handmade sweater for $60?
Yeah.
She probably dyes the wool herself too.
I would imagine.
Yeah. So as usual, I'm angry. You know what that means?
I do know what that means.
Temperature rising. Vision blurring. Rage taking over.
Okay. So, what is my rage this week? My rage is streaming capabilities. I don't understand why we don't have a database somewhere. Why has this not been invented yet? Like, Netflix came out from renting DVDs through online delivery service, and it did a lot to move forward the whole streaming services. But the fact that we still are trying to see Crossroads to have me feel the rage of that. But there's so many movies that you may want to see, and you still can't get access to them. It's like if you didn't buy it when it came out, or you didn't, or you're going to try and stream it illegally. Like, why is there not a streaming service? It's like there's a whole bunch of little pieces of streaming services, but why isn't there a location that you can get everything? Like, does Prime or Apple or like these super multi-billion-dollar organizations not have enough money to build a database big enough for us to be able to see any movie we want at any given time? I don't get it. I just don't, like, we live in a world driven by cars that can potentially drive themselves, and yet we can't get an access to a stupid movie like Crossroads, or we can't get any access to Korean films without having to join 17 different streaming sites to be able to win one different movie on each one of those different sites. It's frustrating, and it makes me angry. And that's my rage this week. I'm pissed. I want to be able to see whatever movie I want and have it come through a clean channel that I can see it in HD or in 4K or whatever I want to see it in, because if they exist, why can we not get it? That's my rage.
Fair enough. That would be nice. But yeah, I mean, we live in a world where everything's licensed, and to get it all together on one platform, I wish it were a possibility, but I just don't see it.
Well, I'm sure it's based on clicks, right? Like, if you want to go rent old content on Netflix, every time someone clicks on that Netflix
but
link,
they have an agreement with the company that has that movie.
Okay, but what about movies you rent from Apple TV or you rent from Prime? Right? They're getting paid. It's no different. Like they can have the content, they don't get paid unless someone rents it. So
so then you'd have to get every company to agree to be on this one platform where they can get the. I hope sounds good to me.
Yeah,
but
it should happen. I'm just saying
I don't disagree. It absolutely should happen. I'm not.
Elon Musk, stop giving money to Bitcoin and do this instead. 1.5 billion could go a pretty long way to getting all those Korean and Japanese films that we want to see.
I would imagine it could.
What you got?
All right. So. All right. My rage this week. The Golden Globes nominations were announced, and in the Best Actor category, Riz Ahmed was nominated for Sound of Metal.
What?
Well, that doesn't sound like a rage at all, does it?
No, it doesn't at all.
My rage is not that he was nominated, but instead that his performance, that was by far the best performance of the year, and it was not even close, has zero chance of winning. At risk of sounding unpopular, it is obvious that they are going to give the trophy to Chadwick Boseman, whose performance in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom was very, very good, but it wasn't even in the same league as Riz Ahmed's performance. The sentimental vote is going to screw Ahmed out of a trophy that should be his, and did I mention, it's not even close. Only time will tell if I'm right, but I'm sure I am, but I sure hope that I'm not. That's my rage.
So, just so I'm sure I understand this right, you're raging about something that's not actually happened yet because you think it's going to happen.
Yes, because I'm so sure it's going to happen. The sentimental vote's going to come in. He only got nominated because, unfortunately, he passed. And it's going to screw a guy that I think this is maybe like my top 10 performances of all time in my book was his performance in Sound of Metal. Riz Ahmed opened my eyes to like, holy crap, this guy is one of the best actors going today.
Yeah, he was great.
And he should clean up every award, anything he's nominated for, he should just get, because there was no one that was even close to him this year. And he's gonna lose to a subpar performance from an amazing guy, from an amazing actor. But it shouldn't be a popularity contest, and I know it hasn't happened yet, but it's going to. You know it's going to.
I'm pretty sure it is going to, but I stopped raging about awards shows multiple years ago when I stopped watching them, because the only person's opinion that I care about is mine.
There's but you got to admit, every now and then someone gets nominated where you're like, oh, they really do deserve that spotlight on them, because you know that spotlight on them is going to lead to more good stuff for them, which is going to lead to me seeing them in more good movies.
Yeah, but you're just going to go see Riz Ahmed anyway.
Launch point. This is the launch point for that.
You're just going to go see him more anyway.
I am, but he's not going to have the same opportunities as he would have had he got that stupid little trophy. You know that stupid little trophy leads to big things for people.
It's true, but I mean, we also know people that are on our undoubted list that are making choices based on the content of the movie and not whether or not it's a box office.
The point is his choice of movies goes from getting 5 or 6 scripts a month to getting 50, and he can choose the best, and he will. I guarantee that between him and his agent, and however it works, they're going to choose just challenging, awesome projects. And anyways,
you're feeling poopy about it. I get it. I hate award shows.
I predicted that right after we saw that this guy's going to win the Academy Award this year for Best Actor.
And then you hadn't seen Ma Rainey yet.
And then all of a sudden, Ma Rainey comes out, and I'm like, and in the back of my head, I honestly was thinking, God, I hope he doesn't get nominated for this, because if he does, it's going to screw Riz Ahmed. And I think that thought in the back of my head is going to come to fruition.
The Sound of Metal was a Mondo, and Ma Rainey was a meh, so I'm okay.
Wow, they were both Mondos, but
no.
But Sound of Metal was like
was more Mondo,
super duper more Mondo, and it had like one of the best performances ever. Like, he was so unbelievably good.
I don't argue with one word you're saying.
And he's gonna come away with nothing, because stinking Chadwick Boseman. I feel like such an ass saying it.
Stinking Chadwick Boseman.
He's gonna get nominated for a performance that it's good, but come on.
Yep.
Anyways, I love Chadwick Boseman. This just isn't the performance that should win any type of award. It was a very good performance, and maybe in a in a subpar year it could win an award. But Riz Ahmed was mind-bogglingly good.
I think suffice to say, award shows are gross, and I hate them too.
Yeah, that's not exactly what I said, but I'm not digging them. Although, on a little side note, La Llorona got nominated for Best Foreign Film at the Golden Globes, which is really cool, because I don't think I would venture to say, and I looked it up, it is a Shudder original.
Sweet.
So I venture to say that Shudder has never been nominated for any award of that stature.
Yeah,
and that is freaking awesome for Shudder. For those of you that don't have Shudder, it's such a good deal. You should check it out.
Yeah, it's so reasonably priced.
I'm supposed to be raging right now, but I guess I've calmed myself down now. So let's
rage subsiding. Pulse slowing. Finger fading.
Breathe, Bryce. Breathe.
Well. The moment that the internet has been waiting for its entire life.
From its existence.
From the existence of the interweb, we have the first Mesmerize Off in Film Rage history. For those of you who don't remember, last week, we challenged ourselves. What would happen if two mesmerized actors were in the same movie together? Would there be a Mesmerize Off? And today you're going to find out, people.
Yeah.
I'm going to pass it to you, buddy.
This is kind of weird. This is kind of weird because we're doing this, but it's also on our Rage or Dare. So I'm not even sure what the format. Well, like, what are we doing here?
We are going to talk about who is more mesmerizing in this movie.
All right, and then we'll talk about the movie after.
A little later, that's right.
So Dog Eat Dog's getting a lot of love today. Well, maybe not love, but
yeah, maybe not love is not the right word.
a lot of time on our podcast.
I don't know about you, but I was feeling there was a little bit of a sandwich happening in this Mesmerize Off. I don't know if you felt the same way. Did you feel the sandwich?
There was a sandwich? What was the sandwich?
The sandwich was...
No, I didn't, because I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, you have Willem Dafoe, the first loaf of bread that's in the sandwich, has his amazing, mesmerizing performance in the beginning of the movie. And then you've got Nicolas Cage finishing the loaf of bread later with a chunky Texas-sized style toast crust of mesmerizing.
Yeah, you know what? That's true. There was a big time mesmerizing scene at the beginning with Dafoe. Yep. Cage did end it with it, and in the middle, they were going at it pretty good. It was hard. There was a lot of. They were both trying to be mesmerizing, and there was lots of scenes with them both in it. There was a few that.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw something out.
The battle was on. It's almost as if they knew that it was going to come down to this moment right now.
This moment, and okay, so you know what made this even better?
What's that?
Is I think it elevated the whole acting by Christopher Matthew Cook.
Yeah, he had to try to keep up, man.
And he did, man. He held his own. I
He
almost,
did.
when we were watching it, I felt like, okay, so if I had to measure this from the whole movie, I actually think Christopher Matthew Cook out mesmerized the two of them.
No, I'm not going that far. That's just crazy talk.
He was
You
amazing.
lost your damn mind.
He didn't have moments of greatness. He had the meat, or should I say, the vegan tofurkey in the sandwich between these two mesmerizing actors.
He was steady, but mesmerizing might be overstating it. Having said that, he wasn't out of place. He wasn't out of place.
No.
I'm just baffled that this movie, directed by whatever his name was.
What's his
The guy's
face?
made some. Yeah, well, he's directed by what's his face. He's directed like lots of good stuff, but he's also directed lots of crap. Like no in between with him. I wish I could remember his name. It just left me completely.
I'll tell you what his name is. Paul Schrader.
Paul Schrader, yeah. I mean, you look at his list of movies and some stuff, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
How is that the same guy that made that movie?
And he wrote Taxi Driver. So what does that tell you?
I know. He's like, there's like brilliance in this guy, and then he just completely misfires every now and then. Not that, well, yeah, this was kind of a misfire.
We're going to talk more about that in a minute.
Yes, we are.
Have you got a name? Have you got a solid name?
Yeah, if we're going head to head, Nicolas Cage, Willem Dafoe in this movie, I'm sorry, but that opening scene overshadows everything else. Willem Dafoe is my choice in the Mesmerize Off.
Well, I hate to say it, but we're not going to lose somebody today because I picked Cage. I absolutely loved Dafoe at the front, and I think he had 5 minutes of mesmerizing. But then when he got next to Cage and he got next to Matthew Cook, his character got lost. The whole last part before he takes his little nap. I gotta disagree. I think that his character he lost his buzz.
No,
he didn't keep it.
I disagree. And you didn't even have to be talking. I mean, you just have to look at Nicolas, or not Nicolas. You got to look at Willem Dafoe's face and just his expressions in a scene where nothing's going on. You look at Willem Dafoe's face, and there's lots going on, and the guy's the king of expressions. He is mesmerizing. Even when Cage was doing his thing, standing beside Willem Dafoe, kind of doing nothing, but kind of doing a lot.
Yeah, well,
I was still looking at Dafoe, even though Cage was going off.
I wasn't. Well, you know what? The good thing about this, or is it maybe it isn't good?
We didn't lose either of them.
We didn't lose them either because we couldn't agree unanimously. If it would have been a Dafoe, poor Nikki would have been gone.
So it may be a little anticlimactic, but the rage off, or the mesmerized off, has ended in a dead heat.
Yes, but you know what this does
winner.
Is there's a future for us because we've got a pretty big mesmerized list.
Yeah, no, I'm going to be looking for it every time that there's a couple of them on there. Cause I mean, I love our mesmerized list, but it's kind of getting out of hand. There are so many freaking people.
There's a lot of good mesmerized people on our list, right?
Yeah.
Well,
at some point we might have to do like maybe put it to the fans and do like a bracket where we put some mesmerized people head to head and see if we can narrow the list down a little bit.
Well, I think we still got 50 more years of podcasting together, so at some point these people are going to act together. Indeed. Except for the ones that are now dead.
Yeah, the dead ones. They're probably not going to be in any more movies.
Unless they bring them back. Yeah, CGI
I hope
them.
they find a role. Yeah.
We might be seeing Carrie Fisher for the rest of our lives.
Well, there you go. All right.
Okay.
Do you have anything else?
No, I think that's a good one.
No.
That's good for this week. Because we still get to talk about this fabulous movie.
Let's talk about Dog Eat Dog some more. Starring Nicolas Cage and what's his name?
Last week on Rage or Dare, we started this fantastic Mesmerized challenge, but now we get to discuss the film that almost made history.
Oh,
Dog
joy.
Eat Dog. which both Bryce and I had to view. This week, Bryce can either dig back into the sex bag, also known as the dare bag. Careful not to get your hand moist when you reach in, Bryce. Let's check in with Bryce and see what he thought about the almost history-making Mesmerize Off film called Dog Eat Dog.
Wow, that was quite the maniacal laugh.
Wasn't it?
It was. All right, Dog Eat Dog. There is a certain amount of joy that occurs when watching Dafoe and Cage in the same movie. For that reason, it's hard to imagine a movie that has both of them could be a rage. And this movie proves it, as, you know, it wasn't a rage. It wasn't good, but it had enough Cage and Dafoe making wild eyes at the camera for it to be entertaining. Both are in fine form, trying to outdo the other in most of their scenes together. The opening sequence with Dafoe at his crazy best was enough to make this movie worth watching. This was an all aboard the Willem and Nick crazy train. Meh.
That's disappointing. I got the feeling that Willem Dafoe's character is Bryce in the future, except for the gutting of the fish part. He's got the sandals with socks, which is something I could totally see Bryce doing, along with his ever-loving high-intensity level of rage, which Bryce carries with him everywhere he goes. I love that he, in the middle of a murder spree, upgrades from knife to gun, then does a line of coke. The first 5 minutes, I was having a super major mondogasm, and I thought, what happens with this week? Like, the first 5 minutes of these movies are great. And then we get to minute 6, and I'm kind of like...
Why are we peaking in the first 5 minutes?
I know. Why did the intensity of the first 5 minutes not continue through the entire movie? I love the homemade police car.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that. That was so good.
So far, let's just take a recount. I liked the first 5 minutes, and then I liked the police car, and then I liked Nick Cage. So 3 things. I like 3 things. Yeah. Lesson of the movie: don't bring a gun into a grocery store, because guess what? It might seem suspicious. So this started as a mondo for most of the movie, simmered into low meh for a lot of it. But what the fuck was that ending? This pushed me just a little too far over the edge. It's like the movie ended back when Nick Cage got a car drag. But no, that wasn't the end. I wish it was, because then I could be on the same board as you. This would have been a meh. But movie magic happens. I don't know how that instantly happens, but movie magic just sprinkles its way into the movie somehow, and seemed like it was a really bad edit. Like, we missed a whole chunk of movie somewhere, and then it becomes a whole new movie. It's like, okay, let's just start a new movie and see what happens now. Yes, they started a whole new movie, and he is reincarnated into Humphrey Bogart, which made no sense. The music final score was deep and wide. What the fuck was that? What the hell happened? I don't understand what happened at the end of this movie. It made 0 sense to the entire movie. Yeah, it ended me in entire solid rage. I meant it had some quirk to it that was enjoyable for sure, but not even the double-headed dildo of Mesmerizing could save this film from the ending rage that this ensued. Started with Willem Dafoe leading the Mesmerizing until halfway through the film, and then Willem passes the baton to the Mesmerizing Nick to take us to the end of the film. I felt at times it may have even been, I'm going to say it again, Christopher Matthew Cook, sandwich of Mesmerizing. My favorite line: I worked in a cannery, and I got a special knife to cut fish. Otherwise, this was a solid rage for me. I hated almost everything about this movie, except for the 2 mesmerizing characters and the little baby Mesmerized by Christopher Matthew Cook. It was awful.
I just want to talk about the director for a little bit, Paul Schrader.
Okay, why don't you?
I don't understand how he can have absolutely works of freaking genius. Like, I'm talking not good movies, great movies, and just some stuff that's just, bleh. Like, I don't understand.
William Friedkin.
Yeah. I mean, he directed First Reformed with Ethan Hawke, which is amazing. He did that right after Dog Eat Dog. I mean, it's not like there was like a 10-year gap or anything. Like, these are the movies he did back to back. One is amazing, and one I'm giving a meh just because I was so mesmerized
by 5 minutes.
Yeah. So it's weird.
You have to stop doing that. A whole movie means an hour and 45 minutes or 2 hours or whatever the fuck this movie was.
Other stuff
Of great stuff.
The police car had me laughing for about 20 minutes after it happened.
It was pretty good
about that police car.
But you can't count 3 things. There was 3 things that were great about this, and the rest of it was terrible.
They're adding up. They're adding up to a mess. God,
you're just being too generous. Well,
this is also the guy that made The Walker with what's his name? The Zombieland guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
I am drawing blanks today. What? Woody Harrelson. How can I forget Woody Harrelson?
Yeah, well, I knew.
At any rate, you know, he made Cat People. He made Dominion, which a lot of people didn't like, but I thought it was fine. It was the Exorcist prequel. I thought it was actually quite good. I mean, he just made so much good stuff, but then he makes like Dog Eat Dog. He makes Dying of the Light, which was awful. He made Adam Resurrected, which was awful.
Yep.
He made Affliction, which was good. He made Touch, which was good.
Yeah.
It's just like there's no in between with him. It's either
Friedkin syndrome. He has Friedkin syndrome.
Yeah, I guess so.
Person who makes like the best movie in the entire world, well, one of the best movies of all times, and then comes back later and makes a terrible movie.
Yeah. All right. So
whose
turn is it?
It's you. And
what do I got to do?
I think you can choose Dare, actually. If you want, you can go back to the Dare bag of deliciousness.
I don't even know where the Dare bag is. I'm going to choose whatever bag this is. This isn't the Dare bag. I think this is your bag, isn't it?
It kind of looks like it. It looks like very printed cardstock, kind of my style. Super classy and full of
So I guess I'm reaching into Jim's bag. Although that seems risky. I know the Dare bag, I'm probably going to get something awesome. But I honestly don't see it on my messy desk here. So
we're going to
go with Jim's bag.
I'm excited. I'm so excited.
Okay, here we go. Are you ready?
I'm ready. It's perfect timing because it's the set part 2 is coming out very soon. It's Coming to America.
All right, Eddie Murphy.
Oh baby, I'm so excited.
Coming to America.
It's literally one of the worst movies ever made. I hate it. I
know. I watched it when it came out. I don't remember it all. I think Arsenio Hall's in it too, which is a reason not to watch it.
But on the brighter note, this is one of Murray's favorite Eddie Murphy movies, so you'll get to think about Murray as you're watching it. So that's going to give you preparedness for how terrible it's going to be.
That's not making me think it's going to be any better. It's got, all I got to say is it's got to be better than the last piece of crap Eddie Murphy movie that I had to watch in this. That was what was it?
Norbit.
Norbit. Yeah, Norbit. That was just a mean, ugly movie. I felt dirty. Dirty after watching that movie.
Get ready for something that's just as bad.
There's no way it's as bad as Norbit. There's just no way.
I guess we'll find out.
I guess we will. I'm kind of looking forward to it. Eddie Murphy, funny guy. He's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All right. So Coming to America. Stay tuned next week. I will tell you exactly what I think of it.
Wow, what an action-packed week. Thanks, Ragers, for listening. Thanks to the extended film crew of Leonard Conlon for Statistic Vision and Photography via Leonard Conlon Photography. Everybody, please check him out. He's awesome. Listen to us on all the podcast streaming sites. Find us at Film Rage YYC on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. and our website at filmrageyyc.com. We are always wanting your feedback to make this a raging blast for all listeners. So please go on social media, Apple Podcast, our website, or Podchaser. Give us feedback or give us more dares to put into the succulent dare bag. No matter what you do, please make us rage. Please. That's it for this week. Rage on.
Rage on.